everybody to the early morning voice. And I want to welcome Jeannie, Mike. Thank you guys for being on here this morning.
Good morning.
Amen.
It's way too early.
Yeah, I know. Especially there in Florida, right?
Yeah, especially there in Florida. You're in Florida.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Ken, he might pop on here in a little bit. He might be a little late. But anyway, it's awesome to be here. There's a lot of things that's been going on. And I know last week we had Mike Schaefer's program on here. But this week we're going to do something just a little bit different. We're going to be talking about the tariffs and all the things that's going on there. You know, we kind of keep it, you know, with spiritual, with Christian talk, you know, reading out of the Bible and talking about the Word of God. And then we talk about a little bit of political stuff. And, you know, we keep it mixed up. So we keep it very interesting. So that's the way to do it. So hope everybody's doing great this Tuesday. And as you're listening, most likely I'm at work watching the program. So anyway, it's awesome to be here. It's good to have Mike back. How's jury duty, man?
Well, I got to go umpire a couple ball games because the judge let us out at 15 till. So I did that, and then I was close, but I didn't get picked to be put on the pool with the alternates or the others, and it was a sexual assault crime, and
Wow.
which I was glad. There wasn't nobody wanting to be on that jury.
Yeah.
And I sure didn't, because I had other games I had to call, and I'm like, man, this is a tough situation.
I'm sure it is, man. Sitting in one like that. I know I had jury duty back years ago, and somehow they canceled it, or I got to leave or something like that. But I know I had one back years ago, and I got out of it. But it was, what was so weird is that one of my best friend's mother was on jury duty too at the exact same time. I was like, man, that's Eric's mom.
Yeah, there was about 3 coaches from the county that was there, and that was pretty neat because I had coaches coming up to me and said, man, you look so familiar. Are you the umpire that calls a lot of the games? I said, yeah. And I said, I don't really need to be here because the schools don't have nobody. And that was the problem I had. They backed one game up from 4:30 to 5 because they didn't have nobody else. And I told the sheriff, bailiffs, and I told the person in charge, and like, we can't help you. You're going to have to tell the judge. And I'm like, okay, if I get picked, I'm going to explain to the judge. But I wouldn't have. I had several things I was going to share. So there's no way that guy, the defense attorney, would have wanted me on there. So I know I would have got dismissed if it would ever come to that.
Jeannie, is your governor Tampon Tim?
He certainly is.
Oh man, I didn't. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's him.
I didn't know you had. I didn't know you had Tampon Tim for your governor, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we're not really sure where he's at right now, but I think he's going to run in 2028, isn't he?
Yeah.
He needs to run away.
He needs to run away. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Hey, I was just going to say, jury
he's terrible.
I did it years ago, and they held us overnight.
Yeah,
that was fun. That was fun.
Hey, do y'all have tampons on sale down there in your state all the time?
Oh well, no, they're pretty expensive, and they should not be taxing those things.
Oh, I forgot. They're in the men's bathrooms.
In little boys' bathrooms, men's bathrooms. Maybe they won't tax.
You know, he was an associate coach too, but I don't know if they won or whatever. I just know that there's no way. I've seen enough and listened to enough of him that I wouldn't even consider him a serious candidate. And I don't know how he even got elected governor, but I don't think he'd get elected governor again if he ran again. I don't think he'd get elected as dog catcher. I really don't.
Well, you know, he was a teacher and a coach, and you know, education is really important in the state of Minnesota. And that was when he was very first elected. That was the push. You know, we're going to be spending money and you know, doing something with education here. But yeah, he is a little different. But the one thing they did poll some people, and I saw a couple of videotapes where they talked to a couple of couples, and they said, "Hey, we knew him. He was our coach in school. We loved him. He was great, but we didn't vote for personality. We voted for policy."
Yeah.
And that's what it should be, because there's people that still voted for Trump even though they hated him.
What was he teaching? I mean, if he's wanting to put tampons in men's bathrooms, what was he teaching those kids?
Well, I don't know. Wasn't he like a football coach or something? But
yeah.
he did. Remember he said, "I'll get those conservatives up there. I'll teach them a lesson," and it was a big joke. So I don't know.
He must have got a big turnout.
What?
Yeah.
He must have got a big turnout on the teachers, because I don't get him. You know, I mean, they burned the city basically, or the state down, and called it peaceful protests. And I'm like, you know, this guy's policy, I mean, they're terrible. I know one thing: he wouldn't run. He's the type that he would never survive running where a conservative has a decent chance, because he wouldn't get no votes. He really wouldn't.
We're going to go ahead and watch this program right quick. We'll jump right in that, and we'll be right back. Here we go.
Hello everybody, welcome to 2C TV, your global news channel. We come to you guys with some breaking news from all around the world. The European and Asian financial markets have crashed. President Trump praises the US economy, and countries one by one are surrendering and coming to negotiate with the United States following the escalation of the tariff wars. In this live stream, we're going to give you guys all the details, all the information about what happened about 9 hours ago, 12 hours ago in Asia, in Australia, and obviously...
By the way, this here is from the UK, and he's going to give you information about all over the world, so about the US and everything. So you'll be hearing about England, the UK, all that. So he's pretty well educated about this. So here we go.
Over the last 5 hours in Europe, especially in the United Kingdom, because everything is kicking off. The leftist globalists who one day they used to say, "Down with the system is exploitative and unsustainable." Today they are saying, "No, not the system is falling apart." See the hypocrisy of the left-wing globalists as usual. So we have to talk about the crash, because obviously some people are panicking for no reason. With the UK market, FTSE 100 is already bouncing back and regained over half of what it lost this morning. It was simply a reaction. But, you know, a lot of people who are smart enough, they bought a lot of gold and silver. So first things first, let's go to what the president is saying. I'm going to give you guys all the details of what you might have missed from all the other stock exchanges, all the different financial markets, from the Far East to obviously now Europe. And then I'm going to give you guys the countries that are now caving in and saying, yes, actually, let's talk to President Trump. We don't want to crash. We need to survive. And also the others who don't want to do it. That includes the European Union and China. First things first, let's go to President Trump, who said that he's not going to be talking to anybody unless they actually pay the US money for what they deserve.
This is how to get in shape fast.
If you want to drop this,
start eating more of these.
You might think,
okay.
Europe's treated us very badly. We put a big tariff on Europe. They are coming to the table. They want to talk, but there's no talk unless they pay us a lot of money on a yearly basis. Number one for present, but also for past, because they've taken a lot of our wealth away, and we're not going to allow it to happen.
Yes, well, he's doubling down on what he's been saying. He's also posted on X, which we'll get to. This is it. Oil prices are down. Interest rates are down. The slow-moving Fed should cut the rates. Food prices are down. There is no inflation. And the long-time abused USA is bringing in billions of dollars a week from the abusing countries on tariffs that are already in place. This is despite the fact that the biggest abuser of them all, China, whose markets are crashing, just raised its tariffs by 34% on top of its long-term ridiculously high tariffs. Plus, not acknowledging my warning for abusing countries not to retaliate. They have made enough for decades, taking advantage of the good old USA. Our past so-called leaders are to blame for allowing this and so much else to happen to our country. Make America great again. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's give you guys all the update from Asia to Europe. First, let's talk about the Asian markets. They all panicked. Oil prices tanked initially. This was around 4% overnight. Brent and WTI crude went free fall when the Asian markets opened. Both benchmarks shedding nearly 4% in the matter of hours, by the way. So
oil prices is going down. They are getting...
wasn't the only part of it, because when you look at what happened in Japan, the futures markets crashed at 8.4% initially after trading resumed following a 10-minute circuit breaker halt. Now, the Nikkei stock average volatility index, it did surge into the 40s. Now, this was the highest level during the trading hours since 9th of September 2023. But let's have a look at what's going on in Taiwan. So Taiwan, their stock exchange issued a rare public statement. They don't really do this, but they did urge the investors to rationally view the market movements as the global markets obviously panicked. They called for calm, saying that, well, we do know that in Japan we had an 8.4% crash, and in South Korea we had a 6.8% crash, and Taiwan, they said, actually, you need to calm down, because if the more you overreact, it's like you think you're drowning and you keep doing this. Yes, you're going to drown more, you idiots. So that's what the reaction from Taiwan. But if you go to Japan, Tokyo actually decided to stop trading. They just paused the whole thing, said this is just going to fall apart. The stock exchange stopped, what was it? I think it was when it fell, 225, which was about 8.3%.
Yeah, Asia's got to a point where they're trying to fight with our president with the tariffs, and some of them is like, I'm not going to, you're not going to give me tariffs. I'm going to raise it up on you. And then the thing of it is, these people is actually hurting their own people by doing that. And they're reaping the wrong benefits. You got to understand, China is in a bad situation right now. They are going through their economy's already been falling. And then when their leader actually told Trump, I'm going to put more tariffs on you. We don't really buy, we buy stuff, but they don't buy anything from us much. We buy stuff all the time, but they don't buy none of our stuff. So it don't really bother us any, because we don't really sell anything over there. So it ain't really hurting us a whole lot. But, over there in Asia, it's really hitting them hard because they're stubborn. They're stubborn. That's just basically what's happening. So here we go.
At the end of the crash. So this was the reaction from Japan. Now, in regards to the rest of the Japanese establishment, one of the economists, Nagahama, warned Japan's economy that it will actually likely enter a recession towards the end of this year if the trade wars continue. Now, the Bank of Japan may be forced to reverse course and cut the interest rates, instead of their planned increases. Seems like the reaction is from most places to cut the rates, and not just to cut the rates, but one by one they are coming to negotiate with President Trump. So that's the situation in Japan. India, let's talk about India, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yes, despite all the criticisms, Prime Minister Modi's government have decided to say they will negotiate with the Americans, that the president is correct, and they will not retaliate with more tariffs on the US. India has now joined Taiwan and Indonesia in declining any sort of escalation in terms of the tensions. Obviously, the European Union and China are the leading globalists who want to go to war with the United States. India is smart. Obviously, Israel, we're going to talk about Israel, and a number of other countries as well. As we said, Taiwan leading it. Now, Singapore, their equity benchmark fell as much as 8.7% in the early hours This was actually the biggest drop since the 2008 financial crash. Now, the banking stocks, they're all falling apart. And the one of the main points to be made is because the Far East, when they all opened at the same time, the economists who went on TV, especially in Japan, they made everybody else freak out. But some people in Singapore were smart enough not to do it. So a lot of people bought gold and silver. Again, it's gold and silver, always reliable. We'll talk about that in a second. But as we said, more than 50 countries have now contacted the United States of America in order to negotiate the tariffs. And President Trump is now getting ready to get in touch with all these world leaders. Some of them have already been in touch, including Prime Minister Netanyahu, who is visiting Team Trump.
He actually met with him today, and I think Netanyahu, whatever his name is actually going to remove the tariffs, any tariffs they have on the United States. That's what I'm thinking. So they did get along. Him and Trump gets along pretty good. So I think they got that taken care of. But then we have the UK. They're very hard to deal with. The guy's two-faced. He says one thing in the White House, and he goes back to the UK, and then he says something different. So it's kind of like back and forth with the guy. So, the Prime Minister of England and the guy that's in France, he does the same thing. He'll tell you one thing, then he goes back home and says something else. So I don't know how that's going to go, but I'm going to go ahead and go with it.
And obviously we'll keep you guys posted on that. We do have a quick up.
Go ahead.
I just heard that Israel will be eliminating trade deficit in the United States. What does that mean?
Homie, I'm going to take this out where I could hear you because this thing, can you repeat yourself now?
Okay, so I had read that Israel is going to be totally eliminating their trade deficit with the United States. So what does that actually mean?
Zero.
It means zero?
Yeah, he announced today, Netanyahu, he announced today it's going to be zero. He's going to completely remove the percentage of tariffs that they charged. And then Bessent, the guy that's over this, has already got the reputation of the one that during Brexit or whatever it was, he broke England. So this is
Explain what a trade deficit is. Like, what does that actually mean?
On the tariffs. What they've done is like China charges a certain percentage if we bring something into China, and these countries, this is what I was on WBT talking about today on the radio program. These countries have been charging 30 to 40 to 50%, some of them 200%.
Wow.
For us to bring stuff into their country, but yet they bring stuff into our country and don't pay nothing.
Right.
And so Trump is basically saying, if we're charging you nothing, then you should be charging nothing. If we're charging you 10%, you don't charge no more than 10%. And you're talking about the guy that when he said that NAFTA was terrible, I was up there in the mid-90s in Washington, D.C., and all I heard from everybody, and along with 20-something hundred business owners, we questioned the government, and the government said, sorry, there's nothing we can do. NAFTA, and the joke, if you remember, Ross Perot run for president. Ross Perot said, the sucking sound that you hear is all the jobs that left and went to China and Mexico that left America because of NAFTA. Well, Trump come in and said, we're going to renegotiate the whole deal. And he did. And everybody told him he couldn't. They said it's illegal. You can't do it. He tore the treaty up. And he said, we're going to do this. Now, what they're crying about is, well, we agreed to the following terms. And Trump's like, okay, now we're going to deal with these terms. And so I'm going to just go ahead and give England a shout out. Listen, you better go ahead because Larry Hagman is already said, come to the table.
Yeah. So this here is the tariffs. Okay. Well, it was at that time that he created them. China was charging us 67% of everything that we was selling in China. And we are only charging them 34%, but then we have reversing tariffs. So whatever they charge us, we're going to charge them back. Then we have the European Union was charging us 39%. And now we put 20%, which ain't much. Vietnam was charging us 90%, almost.
So can you explain that?
What?
Can you explain to people what that would look like? If I'm buying a $2 item China. What does it work
I'm gonna have to pull this thing up because it messes up every time you talk. So, go ahead, Mike. Explain it to her.
Because I don't think a lot of people understand this tariffs. I'm just going to say the other day, somebody was crying to me about it. And I said, all of these countries have been charging us tariffs. Like this
Okay.
is we have
Pretend it's this, Jenny, whatever the percentage is. You go buy something in North Carolina or wherever your state is. If you buy something in North Carolina, 7% sales tax. So whatever the total is tacked on. So Vietnam's charging 90%. So basically, you would get the object that you're buying, if they wasn't charging all that, you would get it for 90% less than what it's costing you. Now, that's the reality. China, the reason China can do this is because they've got slave labor over there. They got people in Vietnam the same way. They make like $10 a day. Who in America is going to work for $10 a day? This is what I've been saying for many, many years since the 90s. That we got to deal with this or we're going to be a distribution system for the whole world. And that's what America has become, a distribution center, because we sell everybody else's stuff. So even if China was charging zero tariff and we're charging zero tariff, it makes it difficult because Trump talks about you got the tariffs and you got the trade barriers. The barriers are slave labor and some of the other stuff that makes it hard to compete. It's just like if you're sitting here and you're competing with somebody, give an example in steel. Trump looks at it and says, okay, I can't afford to let everything go to China because guess what? If we get into a war, China's going to say, sorry, but you can't buy what you need for weapons and so forth. The same thing they did when Trump said, I think COVID could have possibly come from the lab. What did China say? We think we're going to let you die. We're not going to send you any of the ingredients for the medicine, because you're accusing us of the following. And the reality, and I shared this on a live stream many, many years ago. Trump could not say everything he knew because you know what? People would have said to the American public, why did you not take the fall for the good of the many? In other words, if China and the Liberal Party hates you so much that they would allow anything to happen to cripple this economy to get you, make sure you don't run for office. And you know what's so amazing is when you get God in the picture, this is what you get. You get now, I just seen something on Facebook, Pastor Stan, that just got posted by Kash Patel that said, do you think that that America's forgotten all the crap that happened? And no, they have not. So the tariffs for all the people that's whining and complaining, just like about Elon Musk, I say, if Elon Musk said to me, can I come and scrutinize your life and see if I can help you, I'd say, Elon, take a shot because you're a whole lot smarter than me. Right. Somebody got on the talk show today, Pastor Stan, and said this: Donald Trump filed for bankruptcy with the casinos. Well, listen, anybody that knows the history of Walt Disney knows that Walt Disney said the process to success is the fingerprints of failure. In other words, Walt Disney filed bankruptcy 7 times. Yeah. And look at what he become. Is anybody going to sit here? I'd rather somebody fail and get up and try again. Matter of fact, let me say this. If you play in baseball, people, if you fail 60% of the time or 70% of the time, and you only succeed 30% of the time, you're going to get paid a fortune because you're a 300 hitter. So that's the reality that people tend to forget, just like quarterbacks. Oh, my gosh, that guy's got a 60% completion percentage, and so he's making $50 million a year. Yeah. So it is crazy what some of these people believe, just like the governor up in Minnesota. Governor, you might be popular in Minnesota, but you could be dog catcher down here in my county.
No, he's not. Hey, before I forget, though, what's going to happen to the dollar stores or the $1.25 stores? Are they going to be 25-cent stores? Because all of those are imports. What's going to happen to all of them?
That would be nice if that happened, if it went down because of the price. But see, remember again, tariffs versus trade barriers. So Trump understands like I tell people in a joking manner, but let's get real. He's J.R. Ewing that everybody wants to be from Dallas. That'll tell you what he's thinking, and he ain't worried about it. And then these people get all bent out of shape, just like Elon Musk and all this stuff. Well, Elon Musk made money on this. Elon Musk, listen, Elon Musk started out at PayPal, and if he wanted the data information, he could have had it then, and
Right.
he didn't. We're talking about Donald Trump, who goes out and plays golf, and they say, well, looky here, people are losing their money. And let me say this, you can go ahead and mark this down. This is easier than prophetic because this deals with common sense. Okay. Donald Trump understands that I'm going to get the interest rates down. I'm going to lock them in several percent less. I'm going to save America a fortune on interest rates on the economy. And then the stock market's going to come back. So basically what he's doing is, everybody says, is while the Democrat and these foreign leaders, including the guy from France, and you know what, Pastor Stan, if I'm Trump, I'm sitting here like, you know what, you gonna beg for me to let you sell product into our country before this is over with. So I don't know what they're thinking, but Trump understands this. And go back and look at the New York skate park when nobody could do it, and he said, give it to me. And they finally said, give it to him because we're going to make an idiot out of him. Everybody else has failed. And Trump done it in record time. And they said, how did you do it? He said, I held people accountable.
Well, every time that the guy from England, or the prime minister from England, he'd go there and kiss Trump's butt the whole time while he was in the White House. Oh, yeah, we'll do this, we'll do that. As soon as he gets back to England, I ain't going to do anything. I don't like Trump. And he'll go on and on and on. And then the guy from France would go there. Oh, yeah, I like your food. Oh, yeah, shaking his hand and saying anything. As soon as he goes back to France, I hate Trump, man. I ain't going to do anything to help him out. Let's have war. I mean, it's just the way that is with those guys. And, you know, Trump is like, I'm sure he knows exactly how it is. Then Zelensky came there to talk about that deal with Ukraine. And then Chuck Schumer told Zelensky, got him over into a room, was talking to him, and then he went to the White House and started talking junk to Trump. So it was, I mean, it was like a rigged.
Zelensky.
Huh?
Who started talking crap to Trump?
Zelensky. He was telling Trump, well, I don't know if we're gonna, you know, if this deal would work out. We don't know if you guys are going to tell us the truth. We can't trust what the U.S. says because they say one thing and then Russia will come and do whatever. I don't know if this will stick. And basically what it was about was you know, mining, what was it, some type of natural.
They wanted the gems to pay back all the money we.
Yes.
Critical minerals.
It was a gift. It was a gift. We don't owe you anything.
Well, what did it get Zelensky? When this is all said and done, he's going to admit that he listened to the idiots. Now he's sitting here begging, hey, let's do the deal. And Trump's making him wait. And then with Russia is bombing Ukraine. And what did just happen? The oil prices went way down. So see, Trump understands that. He's like, I drive the oil prices down. And Putin don't have no money to fight. And remember, Iran said, we're not going to talk to Trump. They said that last week, right?
Yeah.
Now they're flying in this week to talk to Trump.
They're flying in.
So, yes. So I look at this and I'm like, you know what? The reason y'all are so upset is because, you know, a matter of fact, what did they say? Crooks, the guy that was in Butler, Pennsylvania, had what they compared to a 1-foot putt.
Yeah.
All he had to do is just simple shot, and he takes out Trump, and he misses him. Okay, the guy has a rifle, and he's at Mar-a-Lago, simple, and he's got all these Ukrainian phones and so forth, and what does he do? He gets spotted by the Secret Service. So something's finally coming along. I think it goes back to just like when Tracy Cook, the prophet, shared this back before COVID. He said that he seen Kennedy come into the room and Trump come into the room, and he heard God say, this one died trying to deal with this. This one I will make sure that they will not kill. as talking about Trump. And so I
right.
think, I think what they've done is they picked a fight that you would think that they know they can't win. But listen, they ain't smart enough to understand that, because now they sitting here and I'm like, just let them talk. Again, remember, the guy that Trump has working for him on tariffs is the one that bankrupted England many years ago when Brexit collapsed.
Yeah.
And these same people. So Trump's got him on his side. And then you got some of the people that are previous leaders that's probably telling England and France and all the others, you need to do what's right. And common sense says, now here's the difference, Jenny. If we was to sit here and say, you know what, we don't need to do this. We need to take from the back of the American people and give to all these people that hate us, because that's the thing to do. We have not learned the lesson yet. You cannot buy love. You cannot just sit here and say, I'm going to give you a handout.
Or
Yeah.
loyalty.
Yeah, and that's what we've done. We sit here and we give money to countries. A matter of fact, Trump's a bad guy because he's deporting all these people, which he said he would. And now, what did they say? Basically, 99% of the people that come to the border don't come there no more. And
Yeah.
Trump said you didn't need no more laws. As Trump said, you just needed a different president. And I will say this. What you going to find out when all this is said and done? Matter of fact, there's something that just broke on Facebook where now they're saying that they've got Hunter tied to pre-Obama and Joe Biden as vice president as a foreign agent. I don't know if the timeline is run out or whatever, but if it hadn't, they got more problems than AutoPen. They've got some issues, but I will just say this. When Clinton said we got to get rid of all this waste, I was there, and nobody give him a hard time. The Republicans, the Democrats, and the Independents said, thank you so much for dealing with this. When he fired 300,000 federal workers because he said the government's way too big, nobody give him a hassle. But Donald Trump, like I said, and I said this today, it doesn't matter. Donald Trump could find the cure for cancer and people would find a reason to say, but we hate him. And you know what? It's because it's like with Larry Hagman of Dallas. You had people that loved him. You had people that hated him. When Larry would tell you on JRU and sit here and say, we're going to do this, the people would get mad because they say, but what would he do? I told you so. And that's what Trump is saying. Now Trump can sit here and say, I'm glad I wasn't reelected the second time because I wouldn't have knew all this crap was going on.
Yeah.
If he would have flipped and went right back in another 4 years, we wouldn't be talking tariffs and we wouldn't be talking about all of this abuse. We would be talking about Doge. But isn't it amazing? Matter of fact, how many of these people that's protesting, Jenny, how many of these people, if they get a check for several $1,000s, how many of them are going to send that money and say, hey, just give it to that other country that's got all these illegals because we don't agree with Doge and we don't want this money? They ain't none of them going to send that check back.
That was the next thing I was going to ask you guys is, I told you I drove by the protesters. It's in a big city that I drove through. There was like maybe 30 people out there and they were all like smiling and waving and whatever. And I wanted to pull over. I couldn't, but I wanted to go, how much are you getting paid to do this? And someone said to me, well, maybe they just believe that Trump and Elon should go. I'm like, if I owned a company and somebody said, hey, you know what? I think somebody's stealing money from you. Let's go in and do an independent audit. You'd be like, yeah, I want to know. Why are people, is it just, they just hate Trump so much? Like one person somebody I know, their brother said, well, what does it matter? We're paying taxes anyways. Does it really matter? It's only 600 million. It wasn't like it was billions, like talking about in Minnesota, there was fraud. And I was like, are you crazy? It's like, what do you mean? It was only 600 million. And if we didn't have that, I think our taxes would be less. They wouldn't be taking 25% out of your paycheck or whatever it is. If they don't need
Yeah,
right?
what did he say? Trump said no taxes on Social Security, Matter of fact, you remember during the election campaign, they said, yeah, no taxes on tips. That's what the Democratic Party said.
Yeah.
When Kamala Harris was running. No taxes on overtime. No taxes on Social Security. But guess what, Jenny? When they voted and put the bill in the thing, all the Democrats 100% voted against no tax on tips. They voted against no tax on Social Security, and they voted against 100% no tax on overtime. Now, what Trump understands is this, and he broke it down today.
You're talking about this time they did?
Yeah. Just recently, the Democratic Party voted 100% against the no tax deal. So they sit here and they say one thing, just like they sit here and say, well, I think a woman should be protected. But then when they vote, they say, no, a guy can change to a woman and compete, and we could care less. Just like, what's his name? Jeffries, that got up and Booker. Matter of fact, Cory Booker. I don't know the difference between him and Booker T, the wrestler. They're both full of it. I will say this. They wouldn't even be good on WWE, Pastor Stan, because they can't even they can't even stay in character. Vince McMahon would probably give them a Rocky roll and they'd screw it up. I hate, that guy told me today on the phone, he said, it's almost like you filibustering us. I said, no, I'm just giving you the simple facts. I mean, I could have even really made it rough on him and told him, but he said, well, how long do you think it'll take? I said, well, listen, I'm not worried about my stock. I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to pull no money out. I've got infinite time because I believe this is going to be okay. But for the people that don't understand what you understand, less than a couple months. Well, they already said there's 70 countries wanting to come and talk with Trump. The others are going to get in line in a matter of weeks. And if they don't, you know what? Yeah. Trump's going to sit here and probably say, well, Great Britain, guess what? 51st state. Canada didn't want it, but how about you? That's the reality. Here's the reality. If you're trying to be the big fish in the tank and you the little fish, you're going to get eaten.
Yeah, you will.
And Trump understands that he's got the cards. And so the other people, you know what it reminds me of? King and Queens, when Arthur's sitting here saying, I call you. And what's his name says, are you not going to look at your cards? Nah, I call you. And then he pulls and looks at his card. He ain't even got a pair. He goes, oh, man, you call my bluff. Well, that's exactly what's going to happen to the European nation. And now the only thing that China's got in their favor is this. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and address this issue. You know how there's proof there's not a P-tape? As everybody said, Russian collusion? Because I promise you, if they was, he wouldn't have put a tariff on China, because China would be saying, we got you by the neck. Now, let me say this. The only thing that China and Russia and other people have got to their advantage is they are holding a lot of weapons of mass destruction that they could sit here and say, we don't give a rat's rear end anymore. That's the reason he don't want Iran to have one. And did you notice what else Trump said? There's countries that have nuclear power weapons that should not have them because they can't be trusted. Trump said, we're going to deal with that here shortly. And I know who probably he's talking about. He's talking about Pakistan and some of the others, because guess what? When you get hungry, some of these people, like Ukraine says, well, we got rid of all these nuclear warheads when we agreed to do this because we was promised peace. But guess what, Pastor Stan? They don't know where all these weapons are. There's some that's unaccountable. So again, God is in control. You read in Revelation when all these countries will come against Israel. Matter of fact, something else that you probably understand as far as common sense? You look at Gaza and the strip on the ocean and you're like, this is waterfront property. And what did Trump say? This has got a lot of potential. But under the terms of the way it is, there's nothing but fighting and killing and hatred.
Yeah. What
happens if the United States was to build condos and so forth and say, we're going to make it work, we're going to have, and plus, as the United States, we're going to say, no, you're not going to come and seize this the way you've done in the past. So The
They
tariffs.
found a woman who said
I believe this is. I feel pretty
I
good
want
about this.
I want y'all to see us. Hold a minute. I got something else I want you guys to see. So here we go. I'm gonna try to get this thing open up here. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
supports immigration, and they put her beliefs to the ultimate test. Watch this.
So you would do anything for like all the illegals
I think
and
we
stuff?
have to be fair.
Guys, this is great. I think we found a new home for you guys.
What guys?
There you go.
Yeah. I don't understand what this is all about.
This is all the immigration. They're gonna move into your house.
They are
Yeah. What do you mean? You just said you wanted to support everyone though.
not. Okay, that I don't.
No, they're
Guys,
not
we
violent.
got a
They're
new
not
house.
violent. They're good. They're
Oh no,
not
hop it! Just like you guys did before.
Thank you very much.
They went to a Democrat's house and they knocked on her door and said, "Are you for immigration?" She's like, "Yes." They said, "Well, good. Sign this paper. We got a whole bus of them to come and live in your house." So they're all coming off the bus to
Can
go
they stay
into
for
her
dinner?
house.
Wait. Well, we have your signature. You guys got to drive back down south.
Back to Home Depot.
That didn't work up there in
Funniest part, he goes, "Well, can they at least stay for
Martha's
dinner?"
Vineyard.
So that's
That's
They found
That's
a woman
good.
who said she supports
I like
immigration, and
I like that. That's good because they all for it until they come knocking on their door and saying, "Hey, are we welcome?" And what do they say? Like at Martha's Vineyard? No.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
telling you, can I just say this is so a family member, they created this sign that said all are welcome here, back in when Trump was very first elected, and they got sold here and all over the place, all over the world too, these signs. And you'd go down the street and you would see them. They were rainbow colors, meaning like, there's no prejudice against LGBTQ, whatever. And then I noticed people started taking them out of their yards. And somebody said, you don't want it to be mistaken. Well, how do you know if it got to that point where there were so many immigrants coming in, would they be knocking on people's doors? All of a sudden, you don't see those signs anymore. Hey, Kenny.
Ken's back on. Here he is.
Hey, man.
You don't got it.
If you're not careful, what's going to happen? Can you imagine this? There's going to be, which there will be a day this is going to happen, that people are going to show up at your house, say, "I want your house." We call it carjacking. I want your car. Okay. You got several places that says, "Okay, we're going to let you go. No bond, no bail," and so forth. What's going to happen with people? Now you got people stealing through identity, stealing your houses through deeds where they find loopholes and so forth. So, now, and you know what? You're going to have this to happen where somebody's going to say, "You know what? I got a nuclear weapon and I'm going to pass this on y'all if you don't agree to this."
How you doing, Ken?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think they're really, though, look at how a lot of these things are cracking down. A lot of these people aren't running crazy in the street anymore, or the green, the tree huggers, trying to block traffic. People are they're not taking it anymore. Like it's like a snowball effect.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just there was a big bust in Florida. I just read it. It was a big bust of like millions and millions. They found photos of child pornography and Did you see that, or did you read it?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
People are not just. That was the whole point. They'd find these people, they'd expose them, but nothing ever happened to them. Even like the people with the Tesla, scratching the Teslas. How stupid. They have cameras all over. You see all the videos, people are scratching it. They show this one guy, he must have been 70 years old, and somebody identified him and they showed him, he went and arrested him. He's looking at a year in prison for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of AOC's relatives, they said the AOC said, "Well, that's a relative of mine. Give them a break." And they said, "No, they go on before the judge." See, that's the difference. You commit the crime, you pay the time. So some of those people that think they're really super smart, they're going to find out how smart they are. Just like some of those people that went against Elon Musk and said these things, and then he said, "Well, I'm going to sue you." Once he said, "I'm going to sue The View," everybody on The View was like, "We sorry, Elon, we didn't mean that." So anyway, a matter of fact, Trump said they're going to be treated as domestic terrorists. That's the difference, Jenny. You know, they was tearing all the statues up. And when Trump said you get 15 years if you tear a statue up, how many statues did they tear up after that? None.
They stopped it.
None.
So Ken, we're talking about tariffs. What do you know about some of these tariffs?
All I know is that the current tariffs that he's doing are still lower than what the tariffs they're placing on us. That's all I know.
Yeah,
that's true.
They've been
That's
doing
true.
that for years, man. Well, you know what?
There are a lot of them are matching it though, aren't they? Aren't they matching it? Aren't countries matching it now? Like
no,
matching?
not yet. No, he said that. No, he's still below a lot of those countries on that chart that he showed. He's a lot, but some countries had us over 50% tariffs, and it's been like that for a while. And we weren't even charging them nothing. But he's trying to even the playing ground. And then today, I heard that I'm gonna have to look it up. One of the countries it's Thailand or Vietnam.
Vietnam went to zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were charging 90% on some stuff.
Yeah, 90%.
Yeah.
Stan, bring up the chart again, can you?
Yeah, I had to go back to the Facebook page, but yeah, give me a second. I'll try to get it back up there. But yeah, it's Taiwan was, or Vietnam was like 90% of the whole thing. I mean, I'm like, that's a little ridiculous.
You know the advantage that he's got with China is this. He's not looking at, a matter of fact, Jenny, he could probably care less about China bowing up and saying, well, we're not going to be intimidated by you. We've got something that China needs. China has nothing that we got to have. But we got something that China needs, and it's called power. It's called fuel. It's called coal, and so forth. And they get a lot of their stuff from Russia for the time being, and Venezuela and other places. But what's Trump going to do? He's going to drive the prices down to the point these other people are going to say, don't do that. But then he's going to tell them, okay, if I don't do that, if I'm in Trump's shoes, I'm going to sit here and say,
there it is.
Don't sell them no oil.
There it is. It's here, I can make it bigger here.
Yeah, Vietnam 90.
Yeah, so that's the I have to put it back over here because it
Cambodia 97.
Yeah.
Yeah, Israel agreed to go to zero too.
Israel was only 33%, which is not as bad. I mean, it's not good, but it wasn't as bad as the other ones. And I think they're going to go to zero. And then we have, Vietnam 90%. Then you have another one, China 67%. The next one is what? Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka is 88%. Goodness.
Yeah, that'd be bigger.
Hey, Stan, do you know that every time we talk, when you got a slide or music on, it's a big echo, right?
Yeah, yeah. Every time I show something like this, it's going to have that. So I'll have to.
Oh, okay.
That's why I've been trying to take it down.
Try not to talk.
Yeah. But some reason when I talk, it's doing all right. It's just the way it's set up. But anyway, Switzerland 61%, and then it's just so many in Brazil 10%. There's Bangladesh 74%. You can tell the countries that don't really like us that good because you see where they jumped it up, like Thailand 72%. Taiwan 64%. I mean, you can just see right there where it's like that. But
Taiwan was one that said they was going to do what Trump wanted.
Where's Canada? I know somebody put Canada on there. I'm trying to see where Canada is.
I don't even see Canada.
Canada and Mexico have agreed to.
They're not even on that. Yeah, Canada's not even on that one for some reason. But yeah, that's how they got it set up right there.
Well, do you know that Syria fallen and so forth, and Turkey having a bigger play? Turkey and Israel don't like each other, but today in the Oval Office, Trump said to Netanyahu, said, "Bibi, I know you two don't get along, but me and him get along. So I'm not going to have no problems out of you, right? Because we're going to make this work." And he looked at Trump and he said, "Whatever you want." Yeah. So because like Trump said to Nahu, you do know to the press corps, he said, we give Israel $4 billion a year to help them out. And $4 billion is no laughing matter. So he said, I don't think we're going to have a problem out of Israel. We're good friends, but he trusts me. And that's the same way with Little Rocket Man. Some of these other people can't control him. I think the reason a lot of these people, even Xi, before this is over with, watch who crumbles first. It won't be Trump. China will come to the table because people are going to be saying, hey, it's cold over here in China, and they need power. Matter of fact, how could Russia have fought this war if Russia didn't have all this? I mean, Trump's supposed to be the one pulling for Russia, and he cuts their pipeline off, and then Biden okays their pipeline? No, I don't think so.
No. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and the biggest lie that we're having right now, groceries is going to get so expensive, and gas is going to be so expensive, and unfortunately, they're all going down. Oil is going down. Food's going to start going down. The thing of it is, we feed a lot of countries, and all that food that we're sending over there will stay here. So
you know that they made an announcement today. They said Saudi Arabia and OPEC and all the others have called an emergency meeting tonight, and they're going to start withholding oil production because Trump knocked the bottom out of oil just in the last couple of days. So now they're whining and complaining because, you know, they said gas is going to go down 30-something cents a gallon in the next couple of weeks, and they're worried about that. Well, Trump's looking at, I don't want it at $2.50. He's like, I want it back at $1.70, $1.80. And how many of us do not want to see those days again? This is what I like about it. You know, that this is like watching a young Mike Tyson get in the ring, and you got some of these people saying, well, that person's going to whip his rear end because he's got so much experience. And you're like, Tyson going to kill that guy because he don't know no better. And that's the way Trump is. He's like a, what they call it, a bull in a china shop. He don't care what he wrecks. He's going to tear it up. Plus, he's going to be thinking, y'all the ones that shot my ear and hit me in the ear. But if I'm Trump, I'm kind of like, you know what? You people are so pitiful. You can't even shoot right. And I wouldn't want you putting for me when I'm on the green because you can't even hit a 1-footer.
Yeah. For sure.
We call them give-me's, Pastor Stan, if they're inside the leather. But see, Trump's the one that says, nah, I'm going to go ahead and put this out. I need to make this. And these other people like, no, that's within 3 foot, so it's a give-me. I don't want to take a shot at missing this. That's the difference in the mindset. And so, matter of fact, Pastor Ken, what do you think about the rising star of the Democratic Party coming out of Texas?
The rise of the what?
The rising star, Jasmine Crockett.
That girl?
Yeah, she's supposed to be
the black lady?
Yeah, she's supposed to be the rising star of the Democratic Party that called I mean, if a Republican done that,
the one that wear that wig, right? Stupid.
Yeah,
man,
that one.
Man, that lady needed. I don't even know who put her in. That must be Austin. You know, Austin. You know, they liberals anyway, man.
Yeah. Well, you know, she said she even come on TV and said, "Well, I told them y'all need to hire me because I'm smart," and they give her the job. And I'm like, she called Abbott. What is it, Governor Hot Wheels? She got in a lot of mess over that.
Yeah. No, she's from Houston.
Yeah, Houston.
Yeah. That's just.
Hey, she's from the same one where Al Green's from, right? You remember the guy when they said sit down, and he wouldn't sit down. He sat here complaining. But you know, Trump needs to go ahead and pull his Jim Carrey things out. You know, the little whiny stuff. Like he should have done that during the State of the Union address. You know, like yeah, wine. You know, would you like some cheese with that wine, Al? And Jasmine, when she sat here and said, well, Ted Cruz is the type, you just got to hit him hard upside the head. And now they're talking about her and AOC being the key of the Democratic Party. I don't know. I'd probably say throw Tampon Tim in there, give him for a freebie, throw Barack in there, give him, like what Trump said when they said, well, if you run for the third, hey, you remember I shared that the last time, that there's going to be talk that he's going to run for a third term. And what are they talking about right now?
Yeah.
And Trump said when they told Trump, they said, well, you realize that if you push the envelope and you run and get Congress to allow you to run for a third time, that means you'd have to face Barack. And Trump said, you just made my day.
He said, he said, I'd love
He
to.
ain't gonna run for no third term, man. He's not gonna run for third term.
Yeah, he said,
you know what it takes for them to change the actual law, man. You know how long it takes for them to even think about voting on something, man. This is how he could do it. He could finish his term, JD run for president, put him on the ticket for vice president.
That's it.
JD step down. That's the only way.
Yeah.
That's the only way. I don't even know if that'll work. I have to read the Constitution.
Yeah.
But it's kind of it's too difficult for him to. I think that he's done a good job and he's going to do pretty good. But I like to see JD step up.
He's good. He's going to be
Yeah.
too old. President Trump will be too old in his term.
He'd be 81. Yeah.
Yeah.
They need to put JD in there afterwards or somebody in there because the reality is even they said that all the media said, all we got to do is get a Democrat back in there and we'll put him in prison. And I'm like, that's the difference, you know, in the mindset of the way these people are. And I tell you what, it reminds me, you know, when you look back at Israel and when God basically said, okay, so you want a king, I'll be your king. And they're like, no, we need somebody tangible. So they chose Saul and look what that got them. And when you read the history of the Old Testament, you see bad king, evil king, it brought you bad results.
Yeah, we're gonna get ready to shut down. But anyway, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching this morning, and I hope you guys have an awesome Tuesday morning. And thank you, Ken. Thank you, Mike, Jeannie. Thank you guys for being on here this morning.
Pastor Stan, real quick. Keep an eye on the what's going to take place on the hearings about the China connection with Facebook, because I know you said you had a problem and they announced it today. So keep your eyes and your ears open. That might be a good subject to talk about.
I would show Jeannie's book. I'll try to do it right quick. Seeing Red, that's Jeannie's book. So go check that out. It's on Amazon, and you can purchase right there.
Thank you.
And thank you guys so much for being on here. And I will see you next time. Thank you guys so much.
Amen. God bless.
God bless.
Bye-bye.